I like to use the analogy of like when you're painting a house, right? When you're painting a room, you end up all messy and everything is all grungy, all the behind the scenes stuff. But when you leave, it's like a perfectly painted wall, right? So it's like all the dirty work that gets done behind the scenes, and then we refine that, and in the storefront, you only see the end product and all the beautiful things that we create and display for you guys, and try to keep that elevated experience.
This here is for you guys. The movers and the shakers, the motivated and creators, the big thinkers, the big dreamers, the outliers, the one pushing the needle forward, the students of the game and the ones making their lanes, the ones that get things done and know everything is one. Welcome to your pod, the Everything is Everything podcast. Let's go!
Can't ignore it, this my story, I've been more than ready. And this stuff I'm cooking up is like culinary. True intentions, must I mention, it's just legendary.
I'll tell you what, this first dude we about to go see,
Yeah.
he mean as hell, bro.
Well, I know that a lot of people over here, right?
It's a podcast. They follow me around for the day. They want to see what I do.
What, FBI?
No.
This is where you come and you buy all your jewelry and you sell whatever.
No, this is kind of like where you come to do all the dirty work behind the scenes, like picking gemstones. You're gonna see about.
Every little section of these are a different story.
They're like her specialty. Look at her specialty. You know what I mean?
Got it.
These guys got vintage pieces. That's what they specialize in. So if they got a customer that's looking for something that's old school, then you might hit him up. You know?
Got it. Oh, so like this is my kind of guy. 'Cause I like a lot of like 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the Everything is Everything podcast. We are very excited for this one. I have a very special guest for you guys. He's been featured in Forbes. We're gonna have the link in the description of this. Entrepreneur of the Year for New York State 2023. Has had his store Sky Diamond Jewelers since 2016 and opened his second store last year in Beacon, New York. His first store is in New Windsor, New York. Jewelers of America 20 and under Rising Talent for 2023. Also a dedicated husband and father to his son and daughter. Is personally one of the most innovative and hardworking people that I know. And I'm very proud to present you guys and introduce you to Isreal Morales, or some of you may know him as Izzy the Jeweler.
I appreciate that. That's quite the introduction, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you,
I'm
my good
humbled.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you, man. I'm glad you're here.
For sure.
Appreciate you for taking the time.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna kick back. We're gonna just have a convo. I'm gonna ask you a few questions and have good combos like we always
Once
have.
I saw you was doing the podcast, I'm like, all right, man, I know Vlad, we gotta get this done.
We gotta make it happen.
Yeah, we gotta make it happen.
I love it. I love it. Good, man. So how you feeling? We've actually had a pretty long day today. How you feeling?
We have had a long day, hence the coffee on deck. This is just a little revitalization, much needed.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see a little bit about what the day looks like.
For sure.
But yeah, no, man, it's been good. Entrepreneurship in general is a roller coaster for sure. So it's been one of those rides. But all in all, God is great and everything is good, man.
Good,
for
man,
sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So today, guys, just to give you a little bit background, what you're gonna see in some of the highlight reels that we're gonna present to you guys, we got to go with Izzy out to the Diamond District today and see him sell a couple of items, buy a couple of items for the store, and kind of see the inner workings of the background that I guess, most of your clients and people don't really get to see that you do when you're not in your store.
No, 100%. I like to, and I think a lot of industries probably have this. I like to use the analogy of like when you're painting a house, right? When you're painting a room, you end up all messy and everything is all grungy, all the behind the scenes stuff. But when you leave, it's like a perfectly painted wall, right? So it's like all the dirty work that gets done behind the scenes. And then we refine that. And in the storefront, you only see the end product and all the beautiful things that we create and display for you guys and try to keep that elevated experience.
Absolutely, because even in what I saw today is there's an art to kind of what you guys do, right? You were over there putting certain pieces of jewelry together for clients and things like that.
Well, you got certain calls, certain stones that you need to source from certain people. So size, shapes, and colors and clarities and all that stuff has to mesh together so a piece could speak to the person that's wearing it, and it's what they wanted initially. So that's what we get when we do custom jobs. That's the best part of our job, because I get to put my expertise in that whole process. So a lot of our clients will trust us through that process, and we end with a final product we can be proud of.
That's
awesome. All the hard work.
Yeah, that's awesome. So they might have thought you just ship it out somewhere.
Yeah. Like we don't see it through, right? No, we see it through. It's for real. We're definitely in the trenches, making it happen for you guys.
You guys are gonna see it. We were definitely running around, going back and forth from locations. Definitely super cool stuff. Thank you for letting us go with you and experience some of what
my pleasure,
the background of the industry is like. So I want to start this off. This is a growth mindset podcast.
Yep.
So we always like to ask people. You're actually my first guest, and I do want to highlight that you're my first guest, first interview that we are going to do here, and I just felt it was so fitting. We have a personal relationship for many years. Izzy doesn't know this maybe, but he's one of my mentors, one of the people that I think of when I think of business and when I'm going to make a move. He knows I call him to pick his brain. But you also are my first client that ever bought a house with me.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's right. You told me that.
And that really gave me that opportunity to do that. So I thought it was very fitting that a new adventure, a new journey, new adventure that we're having here, for you to be my first interview as well.
It's cool. It's nostalgic.
Man.
Sir,
So
it's only
dope,
up
man.
from here.
Exactly, man. Super dope. Super dope.
If you do what you did in the real estate industry since the first purchase,
that will be all right, right?
For the you're gonna be good.
Yeah, we'll be all right. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate it. So man, I kind of wanted to ask you just to get your mindset of, what inspired you to become a jeweler, and how did you start your journey in this industry?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because there was a time in my life where I had no idea what I was gonna do. I think a lot of people feel like that, right? A little misguided. That next step is not always clear. You had a couple different businesses, right? We did Izzy's Cubans and Coladas. We did Studio 32, right?
Wow.
We did an ice cream truck. We had a couple different things going on before Sky Diamond Jewelers. And all those other things I remember thinking is that I did them for money. And when you do things for money, there's no passion in it, and it never works out. So, and I think I understood, when I was younger, around that time, people would say it takes people to have 3 businesses before you have one that's successful. And it never made more sense around that time. I was reading books. I read the book, The Outliers.
Yep.
Hopefully, did you guys go over that one yet?
Well, no, we haven't, but we definitely will. We actually spoke about it.
Okay.
Which you put me onto that book. Absolutely.
That's one of my favorite books,
I
right?
love that book.
Around that time where I was trying to figure out what the next step was in my life and all that stuff, I read this book and I was like, all right, what is my superpower? What do I have that I've been working on that nobody else has been working on? Instead of stepping in other people's lanes, let me find something that I have already been doing pretty well and that I could keep and make my own lane with.
Your specialty.
My specialty. And I kept falling back on jewelry, because between having all those other businesses, I always did jewelry on the side. I always worked for a corporate store or worked for somebody selling jewelry. And that was the only constant that I had. So it became, the question was, what can I see myself doing and enjoying my life and saying, all right, this is what I see. And it was jewelry ultimately. It was, I had to figure out a way to do it for myself, but yeah.
That's awesome.
In a long story, that was it. I just made the decision, this is what I could see myself waking up and enjoying to do. I love what I do. And that's probably 90% of it. I can get up every day with just motivated to move and hustle and make, pieces for clients. You know what? Remember back in the day we used to write poems and we did all this other, we write rap and music. Yeah. This is my creative outlet. Right? So it's I don't have that, but I'm okay with it because I get to sit and design a piece of jewelry. I get to read somebody's, image or take somebody's inspiration and put it all together and kind of make it real life. So I get to
I love that.
use that creative side.
That's just awesome because there's so many parallels that I can, connect with there. And yeah, man. And when did you actually begin? Because I know you always did like you said, you had a couple of businesses, but you were in jewelry throughout, and that was like a constant. When did you actually begin in the jewelry? Like you were a young guy.
Yes, so that was 17 years old. 17, yeah. Worked for corporate stores. I used to work for Ultra at the time. There's no Ultra Diamonds anymore, but they would pay for us to go take courses.
Yeah.
Just to learn, so we could have the equipped with the knowledge to sell their pieces of jewelry. And I just took all the courses I could. And then the next job after that was a management position with a privately owned Hanush. And that's where I learned the corporate side and then I learned the private side.
Right.
And I think I married the two at the end. It was like what made me an asset on the private side was because I had the corporate structure.
Gotcha.
So I used to work for, Trevor at the time, and he's one of my mentors. I just spoke to him recently, so I don't mind saying his name.
That's awesome.
In the jewelry industry. And it's because I had those corporate structure that I brought to him, and I had, I would bring systems in place because it's still a wild. The jewelry industry is very old school. We talked about that today.
Right.
So it's still the Wild West in a lot of ways, right? People do things. There's 10 different ways to do one thing.
Because a lot of them are family owned from generations, right?
Generational. Yeah. So there's still a lot of bad habits, I would say. Not even bad habits. I guess bad habits if you want growth. Older habits, right?
Habits, yeah.
And I brought a little more structure to his company, and I learned a lot from him. And then, I went back to K's for a little bit, Signet Jewelers, and I learned a little more structure because I managed their jewelry stores, and I got to see how their managers got paid and all that stuff. And
right.
I think at that point I knew I had all the knowledge that I needed
to embark on your journey.
To take the leap of faith, yeah.
I love that. I love that because that puts the story together of the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Like right from the outliers.
Yeah.
So that's powerful.
Yeah. And that's just self-reflection. I feel like a lot of it is because there was that point in time where I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was good at. I had no idea. I think a lot of people don't know what they're good at.
Right.
I asked my store manager, and if she watches this, I want her to hear it. I asked her, I said, what's your superpower? I know what her superpower is. But I asked, I said, what's your what do you feel like your superpower is?
What do you feel is your superpower?
And I think she knows now, but it took probably about 3 or 4 months for her to find the answer.
And 3 or 4 months isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would ask all the time.
Are on a lifelong journey and don't know their superpower.
Yeah. But it's so prevalent. It was right there. I see it. This is why she's my store manager. She's very good at what she does. But she could not even see her own strength. So I think it takes a lot of time for us to just reflect and check off those boxes and say, what am I good at? What am I really, really good at?
I love that.
What have I practiced for a long time and not even thought it was practice because I just love it.
And I'm just doing it.
Right. But I've been doing it for so long, I'm just really good at it. And then that sometimes will translate to a career.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I love that because it also has to do with so much of the stuff like, I told you this is going to probably be like episode 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. All the ones before this has to do so much with inner workings, inner engineering, which is what you're talking about. Looking in and saying, what's my superpower? What makes me stand out and live my fullest life where I can wake up every morning energized to do my job and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's just super powerful. So I love that you pointed that out. I want to keep it going because I know I want to keep this to a certain frame, and I got a lot of questions, and I want you to kind of speak. What mindset shift has been crucial for your growth, both as an entrepreneur and as an artist in jewelry? I would say,
like a mindset shift as far as being from when I first started to right now.
Yeah, what do you feel has catapulted your career and got you to the level that you're at?
I could tell you that the using the word catapult is very interesting because I don't think that there was one single event that did it or one single mindset. I think it's an accumulation of things, and I think it's consistency. I think that that's the one thing I've always looked back and felt like I lacked in my life, right? Was like doing something, accomplishing something, but that not being it. It's just like, how do you keep it? How do you keep it? And then how do you like just keep it going? And like that becomes a standard, because we can all accomplish something if we put our minds to it.
Right.
It's what happens afterwards. So I think that the mindset has been just consistency and just like, you know, getting up every day, again, enjoying what I do, and really just that is so powerful in the long term, where I think I've received some of these awards without even knowing. I'm like, I'm receiving awards for something that I feel like I shouldn't be receiving awards for, because I do this all the time.
What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, what did I do to deserve this? But it's like, I'm almost 10 years in now, right? I got 2 stores, and my one store is very successful, and I sometimes think like, oh man, I used to have this feeling all the way up until 5-6 years. What if it all falls tomorrow? What if it all falls tomorrow? What if it all falls tomorrow? And then for once, I'm getting to a point where it's like, oh no, this is what we do. This is how we handle business. It won't fall anywhere, because as long as we keep the same level of service, keep providing customers with the same quality that they expect, where are we gonna go?
Keep your standards.
Keep your standards.
Stay consistent and keep your standards.
100%.
I love that. I feel the same.
Yeah.
And I think a good point that you're also making is the dedication and the time already in. And that for 6 or 7 years, I mean, we know this, right? Businesses fail in the first 5 years. So those first 5 years are a roller coaster, and you are thinking those things, right? Like, oh, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna be one of the ones to make it, or the ones to go?
Yeah.
And then I think after you get right to that place where you're like, oh, okay, like things work themselves out, but I'm also putting in the work as well. So like you're able to keep that consistency. I love that.
Yeah,
That's,
for sure.
yeah, I agree 100%. How do you handle setbacks or failures? And what advice would you give to others in the business world facing similar changes?
Definitely. Yeah. Now I feel like it's important to stay liquid and fluid and move and change and be involved in your businesses and your company. Especially, you know, I think there's different levels to it. A lot of times people want to be like step back and let their businesses run and not care as much in the day to day. But when you're in it, like I'm in it, I mean, you got to make adjustments on the fly. Ultimately, it's like, I remember building our store. I remember building the first store, and my vision was so clear on what I wanted the place to look like that we spent all this time on building. It looked perfect. I had all the cabinets laid out, the colors and everything, and signage and all that. And then when we opened, nobody showed up. It was like ghost town. And it was like, oh, okay, now we got another issue to handle. So it's like, as an entrepreneur,
Right.
we're never gonna not have an issue to handle. But as long as you're 2 toes down on the ground,
Right.
you'll know what adjustments need to be made and pay attention to, you know, the market.
And pivot as you need
And pivot as you need to. I think that those have always been the keys to my success. And I think in our industry, it's an older industry. So I think that people are less likely to do that in my industry, you know, especially when it's third generation and they've been
I think
doing
it's the
something.
hunger aspect of it. Like, I love what you're talking about right now, because I think that's the hunger aspect of it, right? Like, myself included in what you're saying right now. So, like, you open the store and then you go, oh, I made it so pretty. I invested. I put in the work to get everything right in here. But now I need to get people through this door. That's your next thing. Like, how am I going to market? How am I going to advertise this thing? And now that's your next journey. That's your next step to figure out this puzzle.
Yep.
Right.
And so if you approach it in that way, you don't really see things as a setback. They're just different challenges because it's new challenges, and in entrepreneurship, it's always something new.
Absolutely.
There's literally no shortage of problems
Ever.
to deal with ever.
Ever.
Like, there hasn't been anybody I know that's not a business owner, that's not running a pod, doing real estate. There's always something that we could be doing better.
Absolutely.
And that we can focus on. So, you know, just staying liquid and paying attention to the information that's coming.
I like how you're saying
Right.
that, staying liquid. Like, so you mean just flexible and also staying liquid, like economically, or
Not necessarily liquid with cash. I think there's a side of that you want to make sure you have reserves. But
Okay.
I think liquid with moving.
Yeah.
Don't stay so rigid into a certain direction where there's
Being
nothing
flexible.
being flexible.
I love
think
that,
is
yeah.
it. Because water's just gonna move around the objects and just keep flowing.
Bruce Lee, be
that's
water,
it.
my friend.
Be water, my friend.
I
That's
love
right.
that. I love that. Be
That's
water,
right.
my friend. That's absolutely, yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like, and I think just to add on to that, how about when those setbacks hit? I feel like that's a big reason why the fear aspect,
Yeah.
which I think is a big important piece to talk about when it comes to entrepreneurship and the setbacks. Do people fail or do they quit?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, right? So let's talk facts, right? So we recently got broken into.
Yeah.
Right. Our second location got broken into. We took a significant loss, and insurance, wasn't in our favor, right? They fought us through all the way to the end. It's like that could be considered a setback, right? Because that was out of our control. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the big picture is that we're okay. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was injured. It was done after hours. The money hurts, but money you can make back. Nothing we do is for money. I'm gonna tell you that. The money is the byproduct.
Right.
Money is the byproduct. What we do is got to be passionate. We got to do it from passion. So what I do is a legit passion of mine. So this is cool. Money is cool. I'm all right. We're gonna be fine. My customers are gonna be fine. There was no customer product loss. We keep moving forward. And this becomes a lesson of what we could do better, how we could write our insurance better, why it's important to have a broker instead of dealing directly with the insurance. This is an important lesson that I learned. So a broker is going to help you write your insurance policy that's going to benefit you. You should have a broker look at your insurance policy, even your homeowners or renters, whatever the case is. You should have them break down the policy and take a look at where you're spending your money at. And I made the mistake of going directly through the company without having a broker to overlook my policy. My premiums were high, my deductibles were low, too low. They were making me pay too much, and the policy was written not in my favor. And I found that out the hard way when we got broken into. So there's things that common sense would have been like, I should have coverage for that. But
you trusted the professionals of that.
Trusted the professionals. Now I got with a broker, and he's like, no, this is what you need. This is what you don't need. You should have this deductible because you're not going to use it unless you have a large loss. So I learned a lot from the experience, and I'm moving forward, and we'll be all right.
And now you move forward the right way.
Yep.
And to the point, right? You didn't let it overwhelm you. I'm sure it was a stressful time, right? Because that's not easy.
No,
now you're dealing with police. Now you're dealing with a whole investigation. Now you're dealing with insurance. Might have to close up the store for a few days while that's going on. You're dealing with so much, but you know that this storm will pass, and you deal with it and learn from it.
Yeah.
So that hopefully, God willing, it never happens again. But God forbid if it does, now your ducks are in a row and you'll know how to move accordingly.
Yeah. There's always got to be a lesson. From every setback, there's got to be a lesson in what we learn. Unfortunately, we sometimes learn the same lesson over and over.
Multiple times,
but we
yeah.
try not to. We try not to. I promise you.
We're trying to grow here.
We're trying to grow. We're trying to grow.
So I love that because I think that's a big in-depth one for things that can happen and, why entrepreneurship's not for everybody. You got to be able to keep yourself calm in the middle of the storm.
Yeah.
So I love you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to give a lot of value to a lot of people. What changes have you observed in the jewelry industry over the years that you feel you have either adapted to or maybe even innovated?
It's a good question. So when I walked in, I saw the question on the board, and I'm like, all right, that's a good question because it's a real question. Our industry is dealing with a major shift. Like our industry right now is going from natural diamonds to lab-grown diamonds, right?
Yep.
So it's devastating. It's a huge change because natural diamond prices have gone down 30+%, right? And then out of the last 10 engagement rings we've sold, 9 of them have been lab grown. So you're talking price points that were average sale $10,000 to $12,000 have come down to $2,000, $3,000.
Wow.
Right? So I think that's the first change. So that was it had a lot of friction in our industry that nobody wanted to sell lab growns. And then being 10 toes down, if your customers are asking for something, it's our job to provide them with that service. It is what it is, whatever they ask for. We try to give that information and disclose that we don't know what the values are going to be of these lab grown diamonds later on. But if this is what you want, this is what we can offer it to you at, and this is how we can, make your experience full and whole. So we've adapted from day one, right? So from day one, hey, you want a lab grown? All right, we got you, right? There's stores that haven't done that. So, but what we're seeing now is funny how what initially presents itself as a setback or something that's going to be negative could turn positive. So what we're seeing now is younger couples getting engaged. The people are pulling the trigger sooner because it's no longer about a money issue. It's about, all right, this is what she wants. She's cool with lab grown. This is what it signifies. Cool. I want to do that. So this past month, instead of selling 20 engagement rings, we sold 40. Right? So now instead of selling these larger price items and not hitting your numbers, now we're still hitting the numbers and going above the numbers because we're selling more at lower volume. So it's always, you never know what that's going to amount to, but staying fluid, back to that thing, staying fluid and just
adjusting. And pivoting within the industry.
Yep.
Are you feeling, and I mean, obviously you can't be in other stores to know exactly how other people are doing, but are the people that are having a harder time making the adjustments feeling the struggle from it, or do you feel that they're going to be falling behind pretty soon with how?
Yeah, they've probably already felt the change, the shift. Yeah, probably in their sales, and then the value of the product that they're stocking is going down. So you have 100 natural diamonds, 2 carats and up, or whatever. Now you've been holding those because this is your business, and all that's gone down 30-40%. So they're feeling it in 2 ways, and I think in some ways they're being forced to change. But instead of riding this wave that we had for the last 2 years, they're just shifting now, right? So our industry has changed a lot. It's going to continue changing. So recently in our at JCK in Las Vegas, I spoke on a panel for bridal. I was a bridal expert and spoke to my peers, and this was something that I was trying to make a point of, was that we're here to offer a service. Ultimately, if you're in retail, we're here to offer a service. Wholesale's hurting, but wholesale's not us. You know what I mean? Wholesale is not our business. We can change when the customer needs something, and that's our superpower. That's our strength. And Sky Diamond Jewelers in general, we make sure that we provide the best possible scenario at that time for our client. Done.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that. That's awesome. Izzy, how do you deal with work-life balance and keeping yourself... This guy is going to keep laughing. Leave it on. Leave it on.
Leave it on.
I want this.
This is great because it's like this is like the 50th time we've done this same thing. Nah, so check it out.
No, hold on. Let me ask you one more time. Hold on. Then you're going to jump into it. So how do you deal with work-life balance, and how do you keep yourself positive outside of work? What are some of the things you...
No, honestly, bro, that's like the biggest, I think, problem for entrepreneurs. And I'm getting to a point where I feel like we're 10 years into this entrepreneurship of Sky Diamond Jewelers. Not 10 years of entrepreneurship because I've been doing it for longer than that.
Right.
But there is a point where you got to cut yourself some slack and then enjoy those things that make you happy. So I think we had a conversation about this privately we on the phone, and I was telling you that in the past 4 months I've been eating right, I've been working out, I've been reading books, I've been, just trying to get my mind right. Everything all the investments that I need to get my mind right, which helps me make clearer decisions from my company,
Right.
which helps me enjoy the things that I enjoy about jewelry and the industry again, because I'm just clearer in my mind. And I think that those are overlooked things that are very simple, but it's an investment, because when you eat right, you don't feel it necessarily the same day. It's like, yeah, you got to eat right for a couple of weeks, then you start to feel good, you got energy. You know, it's the investment that you put in to help make clearer, better decisions. I think that spending time with my family was super important. There was a point in time where I was working 7 days a week, and I was there every single day or doing something. And one of the biggest holes in my heart was that my kids were like, you know, they're going to summer camp, not telling me about their day no more because they're not used to it. Or, you know, there's things that I was missing that I was like, oh, those things feed my soul. Those things feed my soul.
This is what I'm actually doing
This is
all
what
this
I'm
for.
doing it all for.
Yeah.
I want to hear what my daughter did
Yeah.
today. I want to hear what my son, you know, when he clutched that relay, I was the last one, and I swam the fastest, Dad, and it was amazing. And that joy in his eyes and in his heart, and like those are the things that drive me. You know, yeah, we need a little of alone time to ourselves sometimes, and like, you know, time to, you know, indulge in whatever we enjoy. But I think that keeping my mind right, eating right, exercising, and family time, the things that I value, those are my whys. And that's why, you know, I think that it makes everything easier.
I love that. Keeping your why intact, remembering what it's all for.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
For sure.
And then, how do you measure success? And what does success mean to you beyond the financial gains?
Yeah. So success has changed. The idea of success and the image of success has changed so many times. For me, for growing up. So I grew up with absolutely nothing.
Right.
So there was a point where success to me meant having a car, right? And then you get to that point and it's like, all right, success to me means I need to have some pocket change, and I need to be able to have a car, pay my bills, and be able to enjoy myself, right? Those things, and then it's just progressed so much that I think that nowadays my image of success is having money work for you, having free time to enjoy the things that you like to do in life.
Right.
And not have to look at a bank account or not have to really like
feel too tight
about
making
things,
that move.
about making moves. And I think that's what I'm aiming for at this point in my life.
Freedom to move fluidly. We might call this fluid.
Freedom, 100%.
Be
and
water, my friends.
And I think that will likely change too. I mean, I think that the image of success is constant. It's an image that just...
It's an evolving thing.
It's an evolving thing, and the closer you get to what you picture success to be, the more it's going to change, and that's okay. For me, it's okay.
Right.
I see it as something that's always evolving and ever changing, and I'm going to be one of those people that's always going to be pushed into the next level, or maybe not even, or dialing back. Like I recently did, right? It's like, all right, you want this, and it's going to require 100 or 99% of your time, and you're like, okay, I'm good with 80. I'll give you 80.
Okay, I don't want that.
Yep, I don't want that anymore. And, you know, I'm okay with that. So,
That's fire.
You know, I don't think that there's one direct right answer or you know, one clear answer for that. I think that it's ever evolving.
It's ever evolving. I love that.
Yeah.
I think freedom is always involved in those
100%.
evolvements, but I love that answer. This has been a great podcast. I really want to take a second just to thank you
Appreciate
for
you,
taking
brother.
the time to spending the day with us and really letting us see the life of Izzy the
Anything
jeweler.
for you, bro.
I appreciate you, man. It's definitely been a pleasure, been a good time. I know that we gave the people a lot of value. Is there anything that you want to leave the people with?
You know, it's just, I think just, you know, if I could motivate anybody, if one of my things in life now, I feel like is like, I want to get into this space where I could speak my story, right? Read the Forbes article. It's a slight bit into the background of how I got to where I'm at now, but I want to motivate young jewelers. I want to motivate young kids and give them a perspective of somebody who literally grew up in the inner city with nothing. I mean, we were together, bro.
Yep.
I had the Toyota Corolla, right? Sitting on some wheels. They used to get us around. We used to chip in for gas.
Yep.
Or me and all my friends used to chip in for gas to get around. Those are like the simple days. Those are cool. But like we've been there, and there's ways out, and I want to be able to motivate people. So hope people will get some value out of this one.
Oh, they're gonna get a lot of value out of this,
Yep.
guys. Please look up Sky Diamond Jewelers, Izzy the Jeweler, Isreal Morales. Been such a pleasure, my brother. This has been our first interview here at the Everything is Everything podcast. Many more to come. And thank you guys. We appreciate you for tuning in. Have a good one. See you on the next one.
This is extraordinary. Can't ignore it. This my story. I've been more than ready.